What's going on, guys? This is another fencing analysis breakdown. I wanted to do some younger categories just so you guys can get some more variation with senior levels compared to cadet and junior levels and everything. So this one is going to be the cadet worlds from last year. This is a semifinal bout between, I'm gonna butcher this name, but T and Lou. So let's get right into it. And I'm gonna turn off the commentary. So never seen this bout like usual. Right off the bat, right? This is nice to kind of see. You don't see this with all foil fencers is a thing. I think, foil has, in terms of speed and I guess what I like to call dialogue, you can have foil fencing that's more like saber, where, it's a lot more just like ready fence, and then within 2 seconds, touches are scored, and that goes on throughout the entire bout for 15 points. Or, you could have things that are more like epee, where, there's a lot more kind of conversation back and forth, kind of testing out what the opponent is doing, reading what the situation is giving you. So it is really interesting. Foil is really, really cool in that kind of sense where, there are a lot of different styles. Not that there's, the same styles in epee and saber. It's just with foil, there's like just these drastic, changes and I guess differences in speed and action, and styles. Like this also rarely happens in fencing, where you have, at least with foil fencing, where there's inactivity for a whole minute. So the referee, just before was saying they both get a yellow card because there wasn't any kind of action that was happening for a full minute. So again, lots of different styles with foil fencing, which is really cool to kind of see. But this kind of fencing, I really do appreciate a lot, where it's like conversational. And, I think you see this a lot with, high level, men's fencing. It's kind of a lot of just like, all right, I'm going to go and I'm not going to stop going forward until I get the touch. I have right away, so I'm just going to keep moving forward. I'm not going to move backwards. I'm not going to give it my right away. That is one strategy that you can use with foil fencing. But at the end of the day, it's like if you feel like if you have right away, but the opportunity, you don't feel comfortable with it, or you feel like you can get a better opportunity, then just don't take the opportunity. I feel like there's times where a lot of fencers are kind of forced into, like, I have to make this work because I'm moving forward, so I just have to get the touch and I don't want to give away my right away. But you'll see here, both fencers, they're really taking their time, and this is really cool to see. And as soon as they see their opportunity, they go for it, right? And I think you kind of see this in older fencing as well. If you look back at like older footage, I think generally speaking, if you look at like old footage of, like, let's say like Andrea Baldini, right? This, one of the best Italian fencers, one of the best fencers that I've seen. Very conversational. Everything is very kind of slow paced. He's kind of taking his time throughout everything. And kind of looks like this as well. So this is cool to see in the kind of this era of modern fencing. Look at this active defense by Lou, right? Arm out, jabbing in. She's not moving her blade too much, right? So she doesn't expose too much of her target area. And she's ready. Again, she's using her feet to back out of the way, right? As soon as T, I'm just going to keep saying T because I don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm so sorry. But T's moving forward and she's lunging, right? And Lou, right? There's a lot of fencers who don't use their feet, especially beginner fencers, who don't use their feet to kind of get out of the way from their opponent, right? You see Lou here, every single time that T kind of closes the distance or lunges in at her, she's using her feet to make her parry and make sure that she doesn't get hit. Again, super patient. And again, this is This is the end of the first period, right? And look at the score. Like, it's 3-1. This is a very slow paced bout. And then this is honestly, you don't see this very often again in modern day fencing, but it is very, very cool to see. You know, things are a lot more conversational, and this just kind of goes to show you, you don't have to rush throughout all this stuff. You don't have to be like, all right, ready, fence, and it doesn't have to be saber in foil fencing, right? You can take your time. You can set up your actions, right? You can feel out what your opponent is doing, right? You can go back and forth. My coach always used to say, you know, you want to have, fencing is like having a conversation with your opponent, where you're just every single time, you know, you give them the blade. Every single time, you know, you kind of get into their distance and you see what they do. You're gathering, you're getting to know them, you know, bit by bit by bit. And you're kind of having this conversation where you're learning more and more and more about the opponent. The more that you know, talk with them, the more that you interact with them through your fencing. So again, this is very, very cool to see, you know, with these two fencers. So T, her one touch, right? Really good opportunity, just kind of setting up the action, right? Waiting for the distance to kind of close. You know, believe she made 2 coupe disengage attack or coupe disengage attack, which is honestly a very successful action, if I'm going to be honest, when you're fencing people who are the opposite dominant arm as you. It is a very good go-to action. Lou with her arm out, nice and active on defense, and she's really on her toes, right? She's ready to kind of move in or move out at any second. So if you look at her footwork, it's amazing with her defense. Very, very good. And look, Lou got the blade, right? But she's not rushing to move forward, right? She even took a step back. She's assessing the situation. Very smart fencing. Just because you have right away doesn't mean you go for it. There, she saw the distance closed in. She's ready to pop in to make the lunge. She didn't get the touch, but that's no problem. And T, taking her time, right? There, she missed the action, right? Lou did a good job, and this was very intentional. She stepped in and closed out with her arm all the way up here because she knew that T was going to try to flick her on the back. So very good closeout by Lou, right? T had right away, good closeout by Lou. Again there with the disengage from the outside into the belly. Good action, just too far away. And you see this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth patience. And you see how Lou is just waiting for her opportunity. She's saying, okay, now the distance is a little too far. Okay, no problem, I can back up. All right, the distance is still a little bit too far. Now it's close. All right, now I'm gonna actually engage and make my touch, right? Beautiful fencing. That was really nice. Lou was in good distance, just got the blade parried. Again, still nice with the back and forth movements. Nice. And you see there, like Lou was moving forward at first, right? Then Z kind of like trying to jab in a little bit, right? And Lou didn't have any problems backing up, right? And letting go of the right away, right? And then she comes back later, a couple of actions later, or a couple of movements later, and finishes her attack. This is very nice. The other thing that actually works with this too is you see a couple of times where you see these fencers are moving slow, right? They're moving nice and slow consistently the entire time. And then what happens is out of nowhere, they go from 0 to 100, right? Like Lou just did in her last touch, right? And right there as well, right? Where you have that change of speed. And that change of speed, essentially, what I like to say, and I've said this before, is you're only as fast as your ability to change direction. So if you're going 100 miles an hour throughout the entire bout and you try to make your attack, like you can only go so much faster than 100 miles an hour, right? So it's like, for you to actually be going like 5 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, 30, then back down to 15, and then go 100, right? When you actually see your opportunity and you want to go for your touch, right? You're going to catch your opponent that much more off guard. That was good distance by T. Just a little too big on the disengage. Good, you see Lu started to speed up right there, but then realized that the distance wasn't in her favor and she backed off. Again, very patient. Patience is such an underrated thing in fencing, right? Like I said, just because you have right of wedge doesn't mean that you have to finish your attack. You have to read the situation constantly, even as you're attacking. Like the couple of seconds, like fraction of a second that you have to adjust as you're already speeding up into your attack, right? You still have to read, where's the opening? Where's my blade in relation to my opponent's blade? You know, like, do I actually see the opening that I originally wanted to hit? Is that now closed? Like, everything's constantly changing in fencing, so you always have to be on your toes and aware of what opportunities are closing and what opportunities are opening up, because opportunities are always opening up and closing constantly throughout the bout, and they open and close within fractions of a second. So your ability to read these openings, and also it helps to have the muscle memory to just to be able to immediately subconsciously react to changes in opportunities and openings. That helps you out tremendously as well. But again, just the biggest thing to emphasize is just the level of patience. It's just so, honestly, for me, it's just very nice to see, you know, instead of just rushing in and, you know, like being like, all right, I just gotta finish this, and not really thinking through all these actions and stuff. But again, you know, it is hard to get to that level. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of experience. But this is just a really nice, you know, display of, again, patience and just playing around with your opponent, having that conversation, and reading where your opportunities are. So now this is a big period, right? Because it's the last period, and T is down by 6, right? So she has to make something happen. They're a little too quick. She's noticing Lu, again, very smart read by Lu, because she's noticing T's speeding up right now, right? She has a quick first step right over there. If the distance gets too close, Lu should be making a counterattack going in, right? So this is smart fencing by Lu. But again, she doesn't want to counterattack when the distance is too far away. She's gonna lose. She's gonna get hit, right? So she has to pick her moments properly right now. There, missed the repost. T hit with the remise. Or the referee's maybe looking it over. See, did someone step off maybe? I'm not sure. I can't see what the referee is saying. Or hand signaling. But what we're seeing right now, right? Oh, they're counting it as T's touch. So just because you're down, right, it doesn't mean that you have to immediately start rushing every single thing you're doing. You notice how T, she's not just like running at Lu right now, right? Again, very smart fencing. She knows she has to make something happen, right? But she knows she has to make something happen. But she's not going in there blindly. If you just go in there blindly and just start rushing because you're just like, I don't have time and I need to make these touches, right? You're guaranteed to lose. You're just gonna make the deficit even bigger, right? But you do have to have some pace, right? You have to make sure that you're setting up your opportunities quicker, essentially, right? So that has to happen because, you know, you only have 3 minutes. But then again, you know, you also do have 3 minutes with a timer that actually stops, right? So it is something like you actually, like 3 minutes is a lot of time to score touches, right? So just don't think of it as like, oh, I only have 3 minutes and, you know, I'm down by like 6 points. Now I have to just like figure something out, right? And I have to just rush for every single touch. It's not like that. Yes, you do have to set up your opportunities quicker, but you still have time, to actually, fence. So T over here, is just missing a couple of her touches, and Lu is, getting some success off these counterattacks. What is nice about T right now is that you don't see her kind of like giving up. You don't see her wallowing and throwing up her arms, which is very nice to see also, especially like in, younger fencers, right? That mental fortitude is going to be very, very important. That was Lu's touch, yeah. So right here, right, you can't be, giving up touches like that. If I'm T, I can't be giving up, easy touches like that to Lu. Like I gotta, again, every single point matters in this last period where I have to be closing this gap, right? I know a couple of times, my coupe disengage attacks, like those have worked. There's a couple of times where I'm moving forward and I just flat out miss and Lu just makes a counterattack, right? Those are opportunities where I'm like, okay, I know I'm putting myself in the right position. Now I have to really double down on those types of attacks as best as I possibly can, right? So like there, right? You see she goes coupe disengage, right? And hits Lu. That was one of the options, right? That I was just talking about where T was getting touches before, right? So again, do the stuff that's working and do your most high percentage touches because again, you need to be as spot on as you possibly can. And time is running out right now. You only got, a minute left, right? So again, you got to push, again, don't just run. Don't do that. But again, the clock is ticking. You got to make something happen, every couple of seconds. Every couple of seconds, you have to make something happen, right? You got to start getting the blade here, right? Make something happen. Yeah, there's just times there, right? Like T is just kind of relaxing at the end, right? This is a couple of times that's happened. She's got to make sure that she really puts her point on, right? She may seem a little bit tired right now as well, but, you have to just make sure you close out. You can't afford to miss just like flat out, straight opportunities where all you have to do is just finish strong with your arm and just put the point on, right? And again, that target hasn't been working for her throughout the bout, right? That shoulder touch, Lu knows how to close out, right? She's maneuvering really, really well to make sure that her shoulder doesn't get hit. So excellent fencing by Lu, but if I'm T, I have to fake going here, go under, hit at the belly, disengage under the arm. Nice adjustment by T there that time, right? Steps in for the counterattack because Lu is going to be making, a hard, fast advanced lunge going forward. Again, those are just opportunities. Those happen again. You can't afford to do that, right? You have to be confident. You just got to finish your action. Get the blade. If you're in distance, finish your action. You can't afford to stop your momentum going forward, to hesitate and then get hit. And again, now it just kind of seems like, no, she kind of, it's kind of over. But yeah, it just kind of seems like she's kind of gassed and, a little bit kind of just like, all right, that's about. It would be nice to kind of see her really trying to finish it through all the way up to the end, but Anyway, but this bout, it's almost like, especially with Lu, it's almost look like it doesn't even look like cadet fencing. Like she is so her fencing style is so advanced for cadets. I mean, I don't really I don't keep up to date with the people who are in the highest ranking or anything. Right now I just kind of see stuff and my students will kind of say stuff, but so I don't know exactly how good Lu is, but just from her fencing, just way past cadet level. She is, you can just tell, just very patient, really good mental attitude, waits for her opportunities. Her technique is on point. She knows when to do what in when to do what action at what time. And you can just kind of see she is zoned in throughout the entire time as well. It's just really beautiful fencing to watch, honestly. So very big props to Lu throughout that bout. I think she fenced phenomenally. I have no doubt that she would crush it in juniors and even in the senior levels as well. like I'm sure that she could be doing well with that as well. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the commentary and the analysis a little bit. If you guys have no idea what I was talking about, but you're interested in fencing, I have a 100% free online course that you can take. You can do it completely by yourself at home. I literally teach you guys everything that you need to know to get started with fencing. Also, it's not just foil, it's also, if you're interested in getting into saber or epee as well, it covers that information. If you guys want me to personally break down any of your fencing videos as well, I'm doing that as well. You guys can send me a DM, you guys can send me an email if you're interested, and the link to my store that has the free course and all my other stuff and video analysis for you guys is going to be in the link in the description below. You guys can also check out the link in my bio as well. And yeah, if you guys have any other suggestions for videos, please let me know, and I'd be more than happy to help you guys out. Again, I'm just here to help you guys out as best as I can, and can't wait till next time. All right, see you.